You know what you should do? You should follow me on Twitter at Brommer018. Link in the description. Do it now. Whilst we all want to see major improvements in every area of FIFA, today I want to talk about minor changes that I feel could be made to FIFA 20 this year in order to make the experience not only better but more realistic. I feel like most of these, if not all of them, could be added to the game via updates and patches, because whilst they will improve our experience a whole lot more, they're only minor differences to the version we're playing now. Some of which are even rehashed features that used to be a part of the game before the current version of FIFA 20. Bear in mind that these are changes to the actual gameplay itself, and not so much additions to the various game modes like career mode, pro clubs, etc. As always, you guys be sure to let me know what you think about my suggestions and whether you have any more minor changes that you feel like could be made during the course of FIFA 20 in order to make the experience better for all of us. If you enjoy this video, then make sure to subscribe to the channel for more regular gaming content. And on that note, let's get into it. So let's start off with goal kicks. FIFA 19 saw EA alter the way in which goal kicks are taken. Unlike the old style, on this new one, you're unable to move the camera, instead getting a larger view of the whole pitch. With the new system, it's harder to actually pick out the targets and the direction in which you want to kick the ball. The first change I'd like to see is EA revert back to the original goal kick system. Not only does it give you greater control to move the camera in the direction you want, but it's also far more realistic in the sense that a player can decide any angle and direction in which they want to pass into. It was disappointing to see that they changed something which didn't need fixing in the first place. Let's stay on goal kicks for the second suggestion as well. A law which came into play earlier in 2019 was how players could now enter their own box during a goal kick. This allows them greater opportunity to play out from the back, whilst the opposition players have to stand outside of the box. This is something which is not yet present in FIFA 20, but I feel could be added during the lifespan of this year's game. Not only is it simply more realistic because it's representing the rules in real football, but it also means that it isn't as hard for people to play out from the back. Whenever you're playing a game, particularly against another person, they will lock down your defenders outside the box so that you can't play it short, meaning that you either lose the ball from passing it out or you have to go long. If these new rules were implemented into the game, it gives players the ability to actually take a short kick without it going wrong. Next up, I want to talk about the positioning of midfielders in the game. Something that I've noticed is how players, but in particular midfielders, don't get goal side of the ball when the opposition are in possession. This is perhaps one of the most annoying aspects of the game. You always get goal side of the opposition in order to protect the goal. It's one of the basic fundamental parts of football that you learn as a kid. But in FIFA 20, I find that when an opposition player goes past my midfielders, they stand and watch rather than try to regain their position. How are you ever going to be solid and compact if your players won't even defend properly? This is something that has plagued me on FIFA, particularly in my AC Milan career mode series on the channel. I think it was in episode 18 where the issue kept arising and I was conceding goals as a result. In fact, it's how I concede most of my goals because the AI players on my team don't move enough and don't do their jobs. This leads me nicely into the fourth item on this list, which is players standing around and ball watching too much. It happens in many areas of the game. There's simply not enough movement on both sides of the ball. When you're in possession, players stand around and watch you, and the attack becomes very stagnant. From kickoff in particular, usually what happens in real life would be that the game begins and then the team out of possession pushes forward as a unit and forces the opposition to try and go long almost immediately, whereas the team in possession will throw players forward. But in FIFA 20, everyone simply stands around and watches the ball, waiting for you to do something. Defensively, teams don't press enough. They don't stick with their men, they don't get goal side as we've already spoken about, and as a result it makes for a very unrealistic and often unenjoyable experience. Unfortunately, I can't show you guys real life examples in game because I'll get a copyright strike, but anyone who watches football knows exactly what I'm talking about, and I imagine all of you do. Football is based on movement, and I do feel like we need to see more of that take place in FIFA 20. Next, I'd like a feature added where we can select our throw-in takers on each side in the roles section of the game. Currently, we only have penalties, corners and free kicks available, but throw-ins can be an integral part as well. What if you have someone with the giant throw-in trait, but he never gets to take one? The trait therefore becomes completely void, whereas for me, that's a weapon that I'd like the option to use. We see plenty of teams utilise a player's long throwing ability to their advantage in order to pose an aerial threat in 18-yard box situations. So for me, this needs a look in. Currently, it's only ever the fullback or the person who is closest to the ball when it goes out, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me if it isn't a throw-in taken quickly. Sixth on the list is player instructions. Something that has come into focus on my channel recently because of my tactics series is how in some positions, depending on the instruction, players will ignore what you want them to do. Now this is merely a bug, and you'd imagine EA would love to fix this ASAP. In particular, things such as CDMs not staying back despite being instructed to, or centre backs literally never overlapping despite that being the preset tactic. I'd simply like to see this bug patched out so that players will generally carry out your instructions. Of course, it's not like that every second of every game. At some point a player will be out of position. You may very occasionally find a CDM is in the opposition box and taps in a winner. That can happen because players adapt to the situation, but generally they're going to stick to the tactical structure and the system that's in place. So for me, I'd like to see this issue fixed. It would certainly make my tactics videos easier, that's for sure. This links in well with my next point, which is the addition of more tactics options and player instructions. There's still a plethora of things that can be added to the section, and whilst they can't all be added this season, I do feel like there's a couple of improvements that can be introduced to the game to give us that extra depth and control when selecting our tactics. For example, fluid formations is still a feature not present in FIFA. A tactic which might be a 4-4-2 when in possession of the ball could then become a 4-5-1 when defending because one of the strikers drops off into the midfield to make them more solid and defensive. It's something which the PES series has had for a little while, and I think FIFA could do with the same. Extra instructions would also be good, such as the fullbacks becoming inverted, similar to what the Manchester City system has, or a centre midfielder coming out onto the wing to operate in the half spaces out wide, such as what Yuri Tielemans does for Leicester. There's a whole range of aspects that still need to be added to this feature, and I do believe that EA could get started this year. Next up, I want to talk about the crowd attendances in game. Now this might not matter to some people, but I'm personally a big advocate of the crowds and making them as immersive as possible. This is something FIFA is light years ahead on both PES and Football Manager, but there's still a ton that could be done in order to improve it. For example, fluctuating attendances. They're always the same. The stadium is sold out regardless of the games, apart from the top corners in each stand, which always seem to be empty. I'd like to see more realism in the attendances. Clubs who don't sell out have lots of empty seats. Maybe it's a big game and therefore it is a complete sellout. Dynamic attendances reacting to the situation and the club. This ties in well with my final feature suggestion, which is higher and lower away crowds. It's always the same small space for away fans, but there are plenty of clubs who sell less or who sell lots more, and I'd like to see that represented in game. The English Championship is a prime example. There are regular away followings of 4, 5, 6,000 plus in the division. The big clubs take lots more fans because the home ends don't sell out, and unlike the Premier League, there isn't a 3,000 away allocation limit. On top of the realism aspect, it just makes that all the more immersive and satisfying when you're the away team, and it's something that's quite an important part of the game for me. So that brings this list to a close, everyone. What do you think of my suggestions? Do you agree with them or not? Is there anything that I may have missed out? Make sure to let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll do my best to get back to you. Don't forget to check out both my AC Milan Career Mode series and my FIFA 20 Tactics series, where we recreate real life systems in FIFA 20. Make sure to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. Ring the bell so that you'll get notifications every time I upload. On that note, we'll round it off there. I'm Brommer18, and I'll see you next time.